Today on the Crested Butte podcast, my guest is Turner Petersen, and Turner is a recent graduate of the Crested Butte Community School, now spending his freshman year out in Utah. And Turner contacted me and asked if maybe he would be a good interview, and I totally agreed because it's a different perspective. Someone growing up here fairly recently compared to a couple of the other interviews I've done, for instance, Barb Peters growing up here in the 80s, or Andy Eflin growing up here at the start of the ski area. So I thought that was really interesting. He's really developed a love of skiing, which not every kid growing up in Crested Butte necessarily does, and we talk about that quite a bit too. So I thought this was a really interesting interview. I hope you enjoy it. If you'd like to be interviewed, you can always look me up at crestedbutteshome.com, and you can look me up there for real estate as well. But let's get on with the interview. Today on the Crested Butte Home podcast, my guest is Turner Petersen. So, Turner, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
Yep, Turner Petersen, born in Aspen, Colorado, December 9th, 1999. Son of Stacy and Kirk Petersen. Moved to Crested Butte when I was 4 years old and haven't left.
Nice. Okay, so you grew up here, and you grew up here recently. I've had some other guests that grew up here in previous generations. So what was it like growing up here?
You need to leave to really realize how special it is. I just got back, or I'm in the middle of my second semester of freshman year of college at Westminster College in Salt Lake City, Utah. And that's when you really realize how special this place is.
How so? Like, in what ways?
Simple things. Obviously, there's the mountains, the people, the small ski town vibe, but, like this morning, wake up at 8, call in a Burley, pick up some friends, be in the lift line at 9 versus, oh man, traffic, canyon's closing at 6, let's wake up at 5 and go wait in traffic and sit in lift lines.
Yeah.
A little different.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit more of a process when you're not right there at a ski area.
Yep.
All right, and we're kind of skipping around here, and you have a twin too, right?
I do, yeah. We should probably dive into the family a little more. So yeah, I guess, I have a twin sister, Sydney Petersen. She's running Division I track and field and cross country at Colorado State University.
Oh, cool.
And I have a younger brother who is very much now bigger than me, Sevy Petersen. He's a junior at Crested Butte Community School. So my dad is from Minneapolis, Minnesota, moved out west when he was 18, left the house and started over in Aspen, and then decided to go to Western State College, like many fine people here do, kind of that whole classic story.
Yeah.
On the other hand, my mom was actually born in Aspen, and it kind of comes full circle. Like one of my favorite teachers in high school, Tally Nichols, like my mom and her were good friends growing up, and then there's some other faces like Jen Favor, and it's kind of funny how people find themselves going from Aspen to over here. But my dad went to Western, and then kind of the Elk Mountains as a whole was just home for a long time, and they lived over there before they had kids, and my dad worked and drove snowcats at Snowmass for 20 years, and my mom worked in the restaurant. And then when it came time to have a family and maybe own a house and not live in employee housing for 20 years, we decided to come over here. They had some land they were sitting on, and I think we built in 2004, maybe. And walked into Miss Molly's first grade class about 2 weeks into school, and it was totally sensory overload. And pretty much been here ever since.
Gotcha. So it sounds like your parents were kind of original ski bums in some ways too.
Totally.
Okay, cool. All right, well, that was going to be my next question. So you're pretty into skiing. So is that basically from your folks, do you think? Is that where you get it?
Totally. It started, my dad was that classic kid in Wrangler jeans and 215s. He always says he just kind of figured it out. He skied day in and day out and washed dishes at the top of Sam's Knob over in Aspen, and just learned the whole ski town life, was Was hanging out with the whole restaurant crew on late nights, sneaking into bars in Aspen, and the full ski bum lifestyle. And yeah, came over here for college back in the 80s and had some pretty legendary winners. And
you said he was from Minnesota, so was he a skier there too, and that's why you moved to Aspen? Or?
He was, no, I mean, he'd gone to a couple little hills here and there. He was more of a hockey player, but I mean, I think he just knew how special it was. And yeah, his brother ended up following him. We still have a lot of family over in the Roaring Fork Valley. Yeah,
gotcha.
Those guys came over.
Speaking of, do you play hockey then too?
It's funny. So there's always that whole like, okay, we're going to be a ski family or a hockey family.
Yeah, I've heard that's a thing, right?
Yep.
Like you almost can't do both anymore.
It's so expensive. I mean, I guess you could. I don't know. I played hockey. I don't think you could even really call it hockey. I learned to skate probably when I was like 4 or 5, but from a pretty young age, it was pretty apparent that snow to start and then mountains and skiing in general are just like how I was hardwired. And I learned to ski. My parents got me skiing about a year and a half. Same with my sister. And it's funny because now we've kind of switched. But at first, I didn't really like it. I was always like interested in the snacks on the lift and wasn't always into like the cold and getting in ski boots and that whole thing. But once I got good enough to, so my parents say, good enough to go off piste and into the trees and the bumps, that's when it became my drive for everyday life.
I mean, when you say it switched, so your sister was more into it at first?
Yeah, it was funny. I'd be kind of bawling and crying, and my sister would be having an awesome time. And my sister still loves to ski, but running keeps her extremely busy. And at first, that's how the story goes. I did not like skiing at first.
Gotcha.
When I was about 3 or 4, it became kind of my drive, and then I got to start skiing some pretty sweet stuff. And I remember one of my best early memories, I got to ditch school and go ski the Highland Bowl when I was 5 years old, and ditch kindergarten. And my parents brought me up there with my aunt and uncle, who were patrollers over at Aspen and Aspen Highlands and Ajax. And it was like this big ordeal, like who's going to carry the skis? And skied the Highland Bowl off the top.
So you must have been into it by then, because you got to hike up and everything.
Yeah.
So you're saying that you weren't into it from like the age of like 2 to 4 or something?
Probably. Yeah. A little bit of a blur. A long time ago.
All right. Gotcha. So then you kept skiing and you're living here, and then, I mean, were you racing? Were you in like the programs and around here, or?
I was definitely in the programs. I think it was called like the gold medal program at the time. Okay. I remember we were really lucky. Our first winter here was like a pretty cold, not really deep winter. I was kind of like, okay, whatever. And then the next winter I was in 2nd grade, and that was 07, 08, and I was just old enough to really kind of like understand what was going on and how much snow there was. And I was really fortunate. Me and a bunch of longtime friends were all in this pretty advanced ski group, and we had a really awesome instructor, and that's kind of how I credit learning the deep depths of the North Face. Like, I remember being in 2nd grade, and our ski instructor was taking us all the way up to Third Bowl and deep into Staircase, and that was kind of how I learned the mountain, and it was a really cool winter to see that. I mean, I looked at some pictures yesterday to compare the snowbanks that we have right now to like me out there helping my dad shovel, and I'm just a little nugget in front of a 15-foot wall. Yeah. It was a pretty legendary winter, as everyone says.
Yeah. But so did you have like a little crew too? That, like, I assume you was like, I don't know how many of you were there, or like who was your crew?
Yeah, some pretty. Most people know these names. A lot of hockey players now, but Walker Carroll, Summit Wallace, the Wallace boys obviously left. Woody Martineau. Okay. Henry Sumner, like, just, it was awesome. We had this really ambitious instructor who was checking in with the parents, like, do you guys mind if we, like, go, your kids are crushing, like, can we take them to over here? And I remember, this is a little dramatic, we had this whole ski for school, like, ski for PE thing, and I remember our instructor at the time, I don't know if you know Alex Else, he moved away a long time ago, but pretty ripping local. He took us during ski for PE down Toilet Bowl and High Life, and we like did it fine. But then we went to school the next day, and we were like talking all about it, all loudmouthed, and I think he ended up getting fired because of it, because that was not what you were supposed to do is take your kids and your second graders through arguably some of the gnarliest stuff on the mountain. But yep.
If they wanted to do it,
right?
That's okay. And what about, so then as you got older, did you do some like the junior free ride stuff, or were you?
Yeah, so for a while there, it was just like the full passion of skiing, like skiing every day of the weekend, skiing with my brother and my dad, and then became like, it was funny, like in like late elementary school, we had spelling tests, and I was like, okay, my dad said, if you get all of them right, you can go watch the adult comp. And I remember watching the old Free Skiing World Tour comps up in the North Face, and I was like, whoa, what is that? Like, I definitely want to do that someday. And then, when I was 12 maybe, I did my first junior comp. I was on Headwall, it was at IFSA, just pretty mellow regional, and no coaching. Ended up getting second, and started getting kind of recruited by Will Desjardins at the time, and was like, you should do mountain sports team. And I was like, nah, I'm fine. It's pretty expensive, and one thing to the next, a lot of summers of hard work, and then I joined the Crested Butte Mountain sports team full time for a good 4 years there, all high school.
Okay.
And big mountain comps and free skiing comps was definitely a big part of my winter the last 5 or 6 years. And
And are you still doing them?
I'm on a year off right now as I transition to the adult series. I needed a little just like soul ski year and save some money, because obviously it's stupid expensive.
Right.
But I will definitely be back, and it's been a big part of my childhood, getting to travel all around the West and compete from Taos, New Mexico to Whistler, BC, and meet tons of great friends. And
yeah. Well, let's start to switch it a little bit, and you also ski backcountry. So when did you start skiing in the backcountry?
So from a young age, there was always kind of this like draw to the big peaks. It's funny, like all the mountains I still look at every day, I like randomly have pictures on my old computer from like 2010, like my parents' computer, like 2008, 9, of like zooming in on M-Face, like after school, like, whoa, what's up there? And all these legendary peaks, and kind of just wondering what's out there. And then, like most kids during Christmas were like asking for maybe a new Xbox or whatever, but I had tons of patroller friends at the time, and it was like parents were always like swinging pro deals, like, I want a new shovel or a probe, like trying to put all the pieces together. And then I remember, I've like for years always calling Irwin. I was like, "Can I get my Avi 1?" And they're like, "No, you got to be 16." And then when I turned 16, I did it. Donnie Roth and Jason Jones gave me my Avi 1 a couple of years ago, and then probably one of the biggest mentor figures, Mark Robbins, kind of took me under his wing, and cheers to him, because who knows how much backcountry I really would have done. But one day he was pinching, you should just come touring with me, one of my coaches from the mountain sports team. And I remember he's like, let's just meet at the Gothic Trailhead and or Wash Gulch Trailhead. And it was like this Graybird day, like never used crampons before. He like takes me up the west face of Gothic, and it was like this awesome suffer fest that I still look back on. I'm just like, whoa, like this is sweet. And then just since then, it's been my springs. Like once resort season's done, I'll ski until I think I've had a July day before, and love it. With
Irwin and doing your Avi class, do you know if that 16-year-old thing is that like an Airy thing or an Avalanche Association thing, or is that just an Irwin thing?
I don't know. I think it is an Airy thing. I think it's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
So, but it was
at the same time, there's like that, like, what's the youngest kid now to climb Everest? He was like, 13 or something?
Yeah,
so it's like,
totally.
Kids can do what they want, I guess.
Exactly. I don't know. It's interesting, and I don't really know how many kids that were older than me were doing it, but in the last couple of years, like a ton of my brother's friends and like a bunch of younger kids have really been like trying to get into the backcountry hard, and it's really cool to see that this younger generation can safely go pull off a Red Lady Glades tour or a Spring Emmons tour, and just like they have that base already. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Like what kind of feedback do you think you were getting from both like either Jason and Donnie, or your parents or your teachers? Like what kind of feedback were like were you getting a lot of, I don't think you should be doing that? Or
it's interesting, and like at first it was like, oh, cool, like he's getting his AV1. And then I started like telling my parents, like, hey, like some adults, like some of my coaches, like Will Desjardins and Mark, like, yeah, we're gonna go ski purple. It's like May 10th, maybe. They're like, okay, like, do you know what you're doing? Like, is this like? I'm like, yeah. Like, tell them like it's gonna be a big freeze tonight. Like, we're leaving early. This is the face we're doing. We'll probably get like 3,500 feet. We're leaving this time. If we're not at this point by then, we'll drop and leave. And they're like, well, all right, seems pretty good. And like my parents have had some good sit downs with me. And like, well, okay, like kid knows what he wants to do, and like conversations with Mark. And like it's definitely been hard, but like they know it's skiing in general is my passion, and risks I take on the resort, hitting cliffs and doing tricks, and then in the backcountry in the spring, they want me to do my thing. But
yeah. Do they backcountry ski then, or are they more resort?
I think they'll probably end up getting into it more, especially you should see my mom complaining about lift lines. It's pretty legendary. I see it happening more, not a ton though. It was a lot of just me reaching out like, hey, who wants to go do this? And at first, like, and still really till this day, like a lot of my backcountry experience has been post April 10th.
Yeah, like, and it's such a different thing then. Totally. If you get up early, it's a lot of the danger's gone.
Yep,
for sure.
But yeah, there's definitely been some scrutiny, and you know, a couple of years ago we had a big winter, and myself and Gage Meredith like staring up at, we'd skied Whetstone once that year, and I was like, well, tomorrow's like it's a good freeze, like I think face like goes, and we pulled it off. We left crazy early. I think because we don't have the gate code trappers and stuff, and so we left the county shop at like 2:30 in the morning, and we gauged the camera crazy he is, ended up doing a sweet drone edit of me kind of just center punching the gut of face like 8 o'clock in the morning, and we posted it, and all kinds of people were just like, what in the world? Like, awesome community members and backcountry skiers were kind of like, what are you doing? Like, aren't you like 16, 17? Like, what are you doing? And kind of just like, well, you know, it was like solid freeze. Like, we left early. We had all the necessary steps. And yeah, it's like, I see how they're like reaching out and being careful. And it's interesting too. Like, some parties I've been in, like last year I was at the Taggart Hut on a hut trip with some people. And obviously one of the objectives there is the east face of Castle. And it wasn't realistic. It was a big double breaker crust and awful. But I mean, we were kind of like talking through it. And at one point, one of the members was just like, I won't ski this with you being 17 or 18 at the time. Like, I don't, like, you're graduating high school in a month. Like, I do not feel comfortable with that. I was like, sweet, awesome. Like, I've had to deal with that, and Instagram and Facebook comments, and you know, risks I take on the resort, and wanting to like ski like I do on the resort and bring more of a free ride aspect to the backcountry, and like people definitely see that, and instead of like piecing their way down stuff on Axtell, it's like I want to open up and like rip ski movie style, and that definitely turns some heads, and it's like, well, okay. Right. But yeah, it's been interesting, and it's like justified, but it's definitely this is a good platform to let people know, like, I've dedicated tons and tons of money, time, and hours to really studying and knowing what I'm doing, but obviously that doesn't at the end of the day mean anything, as we all know. But
well, how do you manage your backcountry risk, especially with some of the goals that you have of trying to ski fast and fluid, and you know, and backcountry skiing can be dangerous, especially, I mean, the stats say like a young male, like
totally
triple bad news bears on that. So totally. how do you make all that work, and how's your thought process?
Definitely. I mean, it's funny, like being out in Utah now with like a arguably safer snowpack, a more intercontinental than our absolutely terrifying snowpack. It's funny, like it'll be a considerable day, but like considerable there kind of means a different thing, and people are like, yeah, let's go do this. I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I'm used to our version of considerable, and it's like, no, we're not going to 11,000 feet north facing. Like, I still have a lot of that. Like, I have some very hard rules, like, did it freeze? Yes. Okay. Go to here. Okay. Have you skied this before? Have you been on it in the summer? Yes. Okay. Is there cell service? Yes. Who's your partners? Yes. Like, are they experienced? Yes. And so there's been a lot of that, and Yeah, it's kind of step by step, of course, and it's just like surrounding yourself with good mentors and people to ski with. And I owe Mark Robbins a lot of credit and a lot of people in his world for kind of taking me under their wing and digging snow pits and like really understanding what's going on out there. And, yeah.
So what's the scene then like at your school then at Westminster and in Utah? Like, do you have some good ski partners there already too? Or?
Totally, and more so for the resort. But it is interesting. It's like when I got there, I was like, yeah, it'd be sweet to not go like ski with 45-year-olds and like maybe some more kids. But then I quickly realized like how mentor-driven backcountry skiing is, and I quickly realized like, well, I'm not gonna like call myself a guide and like all these kids like, yeah, I have like a beacon and like an AV1, like haven't gone skinning in 2 years. Like, yeah, there's been a lot of like, well, no, that's not quite gonna work. So maybe come springtime, but we've been having an unreal winter out in Utah too. So yeah, kind of a fun fact, we dug a snow pit to the ground, 4 people up Hogum Fork, up Little Cottonwood, and it was like 13 feet deep. It was like, there's no reason to not ski the resort right now. It's been so good.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, it's backcountry's great at times, but sometimes it's. I mean, like right now we're in a very dramatic avalanche cycle, so it's pretty easy to just ski the ski area for me. But totally. But anyway,
yeah, and that's the thing is like at the end of the day, I still call myself way more of a resort freeride skier because I spend upwards of 70, 80 days a year riding lifts and I mean training for freeride comps and filming and doing that whole thing. It's like that's all been resort so far. And it's just kind of the backcountry's just been like a let's keep the season going or get it started early kind of thing. So.
Yeah. In the Crested Butte Real Estate Minute, I want to just talk about how 2019 has gone so far in the local real estate market. In the first 2 months of 2019, we've seen more transactions than we saw last year, which was close to a record year, and also more dollar volume than we saw last year. So all signs seem to indicate that this is going to be a really busy real estate season. So interest rates are down a bit again, and that's helping with some affordability issues, and hopefully there will be a bit more inventory because that still seems to be one of the big problems. There's just not enough for sale. So if you're thinking of selling, give me a call. My name is Frank Consella. You can find me at CrestedButteRealEstateAgent.com. If you have any questions at all about real estate in Gunnison or Crested Butte, just give me a shout there. And I'd love to talk to you or anyone else that you know who might be interested in local real estate. Let's get back to the interview. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of that then, filming and competitions and stuff, so that you've gotten some sponsors. So who are they and how'd you get them? And let's hear a little bit of that.
So it's funny. I'm a very, I reach out and I'm a very talkative person. And obviously the millennial generation, a lot of people give that stereotype as can't really talk to adults, do their own thing, can't really communicate.
Are you even millennial, though? Are you, post-millennial?
I guess I'm,
You're the next one. You're Z or something. Yeah, I'm X. I'm old.
Z, yeah. Or I think they want to say it's the I generation.
Yeah, I've heard some different ones.
No, yeah, so I remember, doing my first couple events and getting some podiums. I was oh, well, all these guys, can sometimes get some cheaper stuff. I might as well start reaching out. And I remember the first time I ever reached out, it's so funny that I think of this, is I wrote a handwritten letter to Gabe Martin at Colorado Free Skier at the time, which doesn't even exist anymore. It was yeah, it'd be sweet if you give me some stickers, maybe some t-shirts, I'll rep you really hard. He was kind of all right, man, whatever. And but one thing to the next, and some good mentor help, and I just kind of started working pro deals and making season edits and really pushing my skills on the resort, and kept competing. And then as of about a year and a half ago, I started working with Black Diamond, which has been really nice. They're obviously a pretty world-renowned company in the outdoor industry, and they've been able to help me out a lot, and I kind of work well with them just because A lot of their team in the past has just been like ripping backcountry skiers, and now they're starting to get back into the resort freeride world, and they saw me being 19 and doing both as a potential good thing. And so it's been sweet, like learning all about marketing. Like I'm in business marketing school right now, and it's kind of interesting. Like I'll go to a marketing class and it's like, oh, I'm going to go sit in like a sales meeting over at the Black Diamond office in Salt Lake, like doing all that. And yeah, it's fun. You know, it's always been like a pipe dream. Like I think it is for a lot of kids in ski towns. Like, whoa, like I want to be a pro skier. And that's a very like skewed term. Like this day and age, it's like most quote professional skiers work 60 hours a week in the summer and then just have like pretty mellow winters and just get to go ski. And, you know, that would be really cool to do. And I mean, at the end of the day, as long as I'm having fun skiing, that's what's most important, and just skiing with good friends. But yeah, it's been the whole like chasing like the behind the scenes world of skiing and going to some trade shows and like meeting people, working connections. Yeah. It's like definitely some help from parents and teachers, and yeah, it's been fun for sure. But yeah, very thankful for the support I get, because it really is an expensive sport, and that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's the game and how it's played, like in all of life. Actually, who do you know, right? And stuff. But how much pressure do you feel like to get them some good footage or photos and stuff like that?
Definitely towards the end of the year, like last year when we had a pretty disheartening winter around here.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I don't know what to tell you guys, but we're still skiing Jokerville to the terrain park, and it's March. So, I mean, you're not going to get a ton of results or photos or whatever. And that was nuts last year. So March and February, that was the big reason I took this year off, is like March and February normally are like just comp craziness, and like doing high school. It's like last year we had 7 weekends in a row that we were on the road because the events got canceled here and everything got pushed back. And trying to graduate high school, taking AP classes at our like brutally hard high school sometimes, and coming back 2 a.m, going to 2 days of class, and then driving out to California or wherever it is. It just takes a toll on you. And I was like, I need a winter off. But that was definitely pretty tough. And yeah, the biggest thing is just like in the sport of skiing is just having fun. And like the Crested Butte Mountain sports team has such a cool thing going. Like I skied with them yesterday, just say hello to a bunch of friends, and just, I mean, that program Will and Grant and Matt and Mark have going, and Woody Lindemeyer's pretty sweet. I don't know if you saw today, but three of my really good friends were over in Austria on the world stage. Like there's some awesome talent coming out of here, and some big names coming out of Crested Butte in the world of skiing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. What about so let's maybe talk about future plans, like post-college. Do you see yourself like having a career in the ski industry, or what are your ideas?
I don't know. I definitely see myself coming back to Colorado, and it's funny, like we're kind of at that stage where a lot of my friends are like, like I don't know if I can go back to Oregon this summer. I might just stay in Salt Lake. And it's like, I do not want to stay in Salt Lake. Like, my hometown is the best place in the world. Like, I'm going back to Crested Butte and working for Toad Property Management and bussing tables at night to make that all the skiing happen. And but yeah, I think I could see myself potentially maybe using my marketing degree, hopefully, and working for a company in the industry and just having really awesome winters and maybe some skiing and some filming and then just some work in the summers through the marketing lens behind the computer with them. But Colorado and the Elks specifically are definitely home places. Yeah, I will be back here.
You will? No okay.
Doubt. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, because so this is something I've always, so every year when you guys graduate, the newspaper usually has a little article, right, with everyone's picture and where they're going and what they're going to do. And I've always gotten a kick out of it as long as I've lived here, these 20-some plus years, because it seems like there's like the crew that's like, oh, I'm going to Montana State, I'm going to ski a bunch, or I'm going to CU, I'm going to ski a bunch, or Utah or whatever. And then there's like the other crew that's like, oh, I'm going to Arizona State, I hope I never see another snowflake. I hope no one ever on the street recognizes me again for as long as I live. Like what was it? Could you feel that in high school? Like
totally. And it's funny, like people say that, like, good riddance with this place, like I want to go see the real world, but I've already talked to some friends that have graduated and are like, man, like I kind of realized, like even my sister, she's like, yeah, Colorado State's close to the mountains. Like Fort Collins is a plains town. Like it's not. And I mean, I've already talked to a bunch of kids craving the mountains. Like, I kind of miss home actually. Like we do have it pretty sweet there. And it's funny, like even just like kind of with like me diving straight into like the CB work hard, play hard culture, working 6 hours or 60 hours a week in the summer and skiing all winter. And like I would show up like for example, last year me and one of my best friends, John Clay Patterson, like dawn patrolled before school and like showed up to third period like in snow pants, like just haggard. And they're like, what'd you guys just go do? It's like, oh, we just skied purple. It's like May 15th.
Nice.
Some people got it, and some people that were like why would that sounds awful. Like you woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning to go
for sure
ski in May. Like it's funny, like the high school, like most of the adults that live here are like, oh, that's pretty cool. But the high school, everyone being kids and doing their own thing, it's like there was definitely a lot of like, what is that kid Turner like really up to? Like what? Why does he want to keep skiing like in July? Like another pretty epic story. Myself and Marco Owling, we it was like 2 winters ago, we had a good winter, and we were like, we need to get a July day. And so we rode our bikes from the hippie camp on Brush Creek with our skis and boots all the way to the Twin Lakes trailhead, walked out to the north side of TO, booted up like a 2,000-foot line, skied it, and then like came back, and we made a big edit. And people like this just like doesn't like, why don't you guys just like go to the park and like hang out with your friends and like not ski? And it's like, we're skiers, man. That's how it works around here.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, most people who live here, they sacrifice a lot because it's hard living here, and the jobs aren't necessarily great and all these other things. And it's kind of funny that when you talk about this, I was realizing like the group that doesn't sacrifice to live here, the kids, they so they
totally,
like you said, some of them may not realize it until they go away, and some of them may just it's not their thing, and that's fine too. But it's cool. It's a cool thing to see, I guess, all the different ways of looking at it.
Totally.
Well, and I guess we're going to start to wrap it up a little bit. But so Crested Butte has been home, and you think you're going to come back here after?
I really hope so. And this is like, I don't know, it's pretty sad. Like I see my parents potentially maybe wanting to go somewhere warmer or to have a condo, but we're at some point probably in the next 10 years. The house I've grown up in will probably be sold, and I mean that's definitely something like, oh man, like where am I going to go home to? But then obviously like the whole employee housing thing and seeing the whole Roaring Fork Valley and just like going to all these ski towns and seeing like all these kids that grew up there getting bought out of their own towns, definitely a sad thing to think of. And like me being in Salt Lake and seeing all this change rapidly pick up in the last 6 months has definitely been pretty interesting. And like seeing pictures of the East River line like a month ago, it's just like, that can't be true. And then like Monday, a Graybird Monday yesterday, like in the Red Lady line because the Queen was broken. Like this is really happening. Like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, again, that was a major lift that was shut down, so it's
pretty classic, right?
I mean,
we'll see. I really hope I can come back here, and I hope I just don't get. A lot of us, we had a conversation, my sister and I, a couple of days ago, was like, man, we hope we just don't get like bought out of our hometown, because I have friends in Jackson, they're like, yeah, like my parents moved, and then I realized like I can't afford to live there in the summer, and I kind of just don't go there anymore. It's like, that would suck. But there's other cool places in the world, but this place is pretty amazing.
The problem is a lot of the cool places are expensive too, and busy too. I mean,
totally.
So it's hard to. I don't know. We still have it pretty good. So
totally.
You've mentioned your sister a few times. So being twins, like, do you have like the crazy twin thing that people talk about? Even though you're obviously not identical twins. But...
It's funny. So this is kind of a funny story. So my parents actually never told us who was older, and my dad's argument was that we were going to use it as like, well, I'm older. Like,
oh yeah, it'd be an argument
shotgun
point for sure.
Yeah, and we were like, all right, that's BS, whatever. And then it kind of became this funny thing, like, okay, actually, like, who's older? And they were like, we'll tell you on your 18th birthday. And so my mom, working at the school, like, on our 18th birthday, like, the whole school knows Sydney and I pretty well. And, like, everyone's like, oh, my God, we get to learn which twin's older. Everyone's, like, freaking out. Turns out I'm the older twin, and everyone's, like, freaking out. Everyone wanted it to be Sydney, of course, 'cause she's, like, the better twin. And just, it was pretty funny. But no, it was weird. It was like, yeah, I have a twin, cool, whatever. Kind of get desensitized to it. And then, like, in August, like, when I didn't see her for, like, 3 months, I was like, whoa, like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have that kind of, like, if she was, like, sad, you were like, oh, Sydney's sad, I should call her or something? You don't have that. You don't have that telepathy thing, right?
I would mess with Sydney pretty hard, and she'd mess with me. It was a good relationship. We definitely weren't like always looking out for each other. We were always like poking each other's buttons. And,
typical brothers and sisters.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Well, where can people learn more about you? Do you have a website or anything? Or I guess it's your Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram at Turner Petersen, Petersen.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just kind of just a passionate skier going to school out in Utah right now, and very thankful to grow up in Crested Butte and know so many awesome people, and yeah.
And hopefully be back. Anything else I should have asked or that you want to talk about, or a cool story you want to tell, or...
No, but we should go ski if you're listening to this, so you should definitely reach out. I'll be back in the spring, or if you're in Utah, let's go ski snowbird.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Or tomorrow. It's good up there right now.
I'm hoping to be out there tomorrow myself, for sure.
It was awesome today.
And then the last question, who else should I interview?
I thought about that, so I don't know. I think that this doesn't really count because he's technically an Irwin local now, but
no, that counts. It could be Gunnison. Yeah.
Elliot Rotzenberg would be a good one.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think Will Desjardins being my ski coach and us going back a long time, him being on town council would be a really interesting opinion. And he kind of came from New Jersey and was here often and was like, I'm going there, and skied here once a week and realized it wasn't enough, and became a pretty badass skier. And your story earlier of the crew going down toilet bowl, that was kind of reminding me of a good friend of mine who used to teach Will and Ed when they'd come out here, and they were still high schoolers. And I skied with them one day, and like he made them Huck Fredos actually, in uniform, like so. Yep.
Not
Goes
first.
Full circle.
But I guess they were 16 or 17, not second graders, but still.
Yeah. It's funny how it goes full circle. Like, they're coaching kids now, and then Will was coaching Matt Evans, and now Matt Evans is over in Europe right now coaching a bunch of kids. And, I see myself maybe getting involved in that at some point. So
it was actually, that's a good... that's the question that I didn't ask that I should have asked. How do you see yourself giving back to the ski community then when the ski community is giving
Coaching's probably the answer.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool, I think. And I think it's funny, like Matt kind of dabbled with the whole quote-unquote professional skiing thing, realized it wasn't really his thing, and kind of came back and fell in love with coaching. Started as like a fill-in coach 3 or 4 years ago, and then all of a sudden is full staffed, and like that's what he does all winter.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be pretty sweet. It's kind of cool. You go to all these events, and all the coaches used to compete together, and sometimes still do, and like they have all their stories, and that's like this whole next generation of kids, and then maybe we'll be coaching someday. And the whole freeride community is a pretty connected, crazy thing.
I'm on a different track now, but I've
you've been in the start gate.
Exactly. And I've thought about, I'm like, man, that would be pretty fun to cruise around and drop some knowledge that I learned over the years. But I also think it's the lines that are skied have changed a ton in the last like 10 years. So I'd probably be like, oh, you should do this. And
it's funny. It's really changed. It seems like it used to go from like, oh, that was sweet, like just overall impression. And now it's like a very systematic judged, like, oh, that was really cool. That was a really big backflip. But Definitely backslapped. Like, that doesn't really matter. Back in the day, it was like, that dude just backflipped a cliff. He's going to win this.
Yeah, that still mattered too, but I think like the line choice was bigger back then. Now, skiing a slightly easier line, but being more fluid and fast and styly does better than it used to. That's been the change that I've seen, and maybe I'm wrong, but it used to be like, ooh, that was the hardest line, winner. And now it's like, oh, that was a really smooth line, winner.
There's some gems of some videos on YouTube of like 2001, 2002, even like mid-90s extreme comps up on the head wall. Like, there's some crazy stuff that goes down. There's this line of Jesse Hall, like, I've never seen that.
Yeah, no, that was my era for sure. I was definitely in there with Jesse for sure. So,
Yep.
Anyway, all right. Well, let's wrap it up though. But really appreciate it, and thanks for the interview. And we'll have to go skiing sometime.
Yeah, man. Take care. I'd love to.
All right, sounds good. Thanks. Thanks for listening to the Crested Butte is Home podcast. My name is Frank Consella, your host. I am a local real estate agent here in Crested Butte and Gunnison. That is my profession. I am not a professional podcaster, though I certainly enjoy it a lot. I recently had a great review on Apple Podcasts that I really appreciated. So if you have a second and you haven't already left a review, please do so. As always, you can find me at crestedbutterealestateagent.com if you have any questions about real estate. And otherwise, I will see you again in a couple weeks with a new episode. Thanks again for listening.